I think that's an excellent thing to start off with.
I'm going to start off with a lesson. That's what's going to show up right here.
That's right.
Oh, hey, shh. I think we're live. It says we're live. Live from Houston, Texas, the sunny South, Ginger Cook, the acclaimed, brilliant acrylic artist, working on Impressionism this evening. And, oh, wait a minute. You got to remember to turn off the other computers. Okay. I got to find Ginger now. Hold on. There you are, Ginger.
Hi.
I found you.
Hey, John. How are you? I can see you across the room, kind of hiding behind the printer over there. We're all in the same studio.
Somewhere.
They're doing a live broadcast. So welcome everybody this evening for our Impressionistic night. I personally love to paint an Impressionistic style. I love it. It's not for everybody. And that's a disclaimer. It's not for everybody. And some people find this extremely easy to do, and other people are just flummoxed by it. Do you like that word? Flummoxed.
What?
Flummoxed.
Flummoxed?
Flummoxed.
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 X with an X.
I've never heard that word.
Flummoxed, yeah.
How would you spell that?
Well, I don't know how to spell it, John. Ask Google. That's what Google does. I just teach acrylic painting. There's other people that teach spelling. Okay?
Go to another YouTube channel for that.
But I know big words. How's that?
Yeah, you know them.
I know them. And what I mean by that is that they're just a little discombobulated by the whole process.
Now that I understand.
And for those of you who English is your second language, you're saying, what is this woman prattling on about? Basically what we're saying is a little frustrating for people because it doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive to what you've normally done. And if you started out drawing, for instance, which most of us did, most of us sat in school and doodled and drew things. And so we drew, eyes and horses and faces and trees, and we drew things, okay? And then we had some colored pencils and crayons, and we colored them all in. So the hardest thing, I think, one of the things that we're going to talk to you about 5 things that
I've got those 5 things, right? They came to me?
Yeah, you're going to print those out for me so I can remember what I said they were. But that basically I'm going to go over 5 things and that are important to know if you want to paint impressionistic style of painting, okay? Those are we're going to talk about those 5 things. But one of the things in general with painting, and I'll say this pretty much in general, is that when you're painting anything, for instance, the difference between painting and drawing is that you don't outline things, and people automatically want to do it. For instance, one of the things that people will do is, for instance, if they're painting a red apple, for instance, they'll draw the apple out on the canvas, or they'll trace it somehow, and you got to have the apple shape, okay? And then they'll start by outlining the apple, and this is absolutely the wrong thing to do, whether you're doing Impressionism or not. You don't want to do it. Thank you. These are my 5 things. Here, look at that. See?
You can't see that.
So
that's still hidden down there.
Oh, that's still hidden. So even whether it's regular painting or not, so basically painting is more about putting down color and shadows and value to create an image, as opposed to pencil drawing, which you draw, but then advanced pencil drawing, if you've ever done any of that, they don't outline either. That's an interesting thing. If you've ever seen some really neat pencils and there's no outline at all, it's all done with little tiny marks on the pencil. I have to show you some examples of that. So again, as an artist, that's one of the things that's sort of difficult for people to overcome. They paint an eye and they want to draw the eye in with a dark color or something like that. But if you look, really go and study the masters, which is important. If you got a museum in your area, study it and look how the paint was put down, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So tonight we're going to do a 9x12 canvas, a little bit bigger. And we're going to paint this painting here. Should I hold it up, or John, you want to?
Oh, I'm going to zoom you down.
He's going to zoom down to my panel here. I'm going to make this a little bigger. And this is all an impressionistic style of painting. And the number one thing, right, is to remember that Impressionism is generally done with small, little, tiny overlapping brushstrokes, which is different than, say, a painting done like, let me just bring my table over here. Like this, for instance. Like this, for instance, this is one of the lessons we have on our website on the copper pot. And this original painting was done 100 years before Van Gogh by this really neat artist. It's so cute. He did all these great pictures. But this was more of the style of painting up until the Impressionists, which came out in the late 1800s. And Impressionism came with the invention of the paint tube. And you're going, well, what do you mean? They haven't always had a paint tube. When this man was painting, what they had was oil paint, and they had mortar and pestle, and they'd put all the materials in there, and they'd grind it all up with oil, and then it would go in a pig's bladder, and then they would tie it off like a little, almost like a little ball, and then they'd poke a needle in it on the one end and squeeze out the paint and then sew it up at night. And trust me, they weren't going anywhere with that stuff. That's just where it was. So, but when the paint tube was invented around 1865 by an American, by the way, just going to toot our horn a little bit here. We invented so few things. We gotta talk about the ones we did. Unless you're asking my friend Dee Dee, and she thinks that everything wasn't made in Bulgaria. You just have to talk to Dee Dee, and she'll tell you that, right? It's sort of the mystery country. She told me one time that they invented the airplane too, and I said, what about the Wright brothers? She says, oh no, we had it long before them. I said, oh, okay. She's a good friend, so I like to razz her. They invented yogurt too, did you know that? So you just ask her. So anyway, I digress. So anyway, the idea is that the paint tube got invented really first for watercolor, and then it was discovered for oil paint. So by the time Van Gogh and Monet and Renoir and those guys came along, they could go somewhere to some paint dealer and buy paint in tubes, okay? In fact, maybe tonight we'll tell you the story of Mummy Brown. You guys want to hear that? I haven't told that story in a long time. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about Mummy Brown, paint that was made from real Egyptian mummies.
Hey, we want to say thank you to Alicia for making a donation to our worthy cause of craziness.
Oh, Alicia, thank you so much. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about here, only on the live shows we have something called Super Chat. And if you feel like it, where is that? How do they do that, John?
Right there where you normally type in your chatting, you have your emojis, and then right next to it you have a dollar sign. That's if you're not on an Apple iPhone or iPad. Apparently those don't have them as of yet.
Yeah.
Androids have it, and phones and computers have it. But
so anybody wants to, throw a buck our way, we certainly appreciate it, and we thank you very much for that. So
we
thank
got to
you
buy
in
the
advance.
supplies just like you guys do.
Yeah, so we're buying this stuff too. So anyway, that's the example. So this is not Impressionism, but for instance, a couple weeks ago, you guys maybe redid these trees. This is Impressionism. See all the little overlapping brushstrokes, okay? Now the reason that this came about, okay, we're going to tell you about this, how this came about. I'm going to give the history of this as we paint, okay? So those are great examples of that. So we're going to put out some paint today, and we want the normal colors. Everybody says, why don't you just tell us ahead of time what the colors are? Because colors are always the same, you guys. We're not getting clever here with you. I mean, we do have magenta, but pretty much if you own the colors, we have a video that lists all the colors and tools that I have. That I use, yeah, everything we use. And so if you have those, you're kind of in like Flint, right? You got the stuff, right?
You got the stuff.
You got the stuff. A little burnt sienna, a little dazzling purple.
It's your basic colors.
Your basic colors, that I use all the time. And if you can, and white, white.
Okay.
Here, let's see if I can't get that out. People, Matisse has got these little flip-top caps, and they're only as good till like Mount Vesuvius that the paint dries and you can't get the paint cap back on anymore. But that still works, so I guess we'll use it. It's a little annoying though, I don't mind saying that. Liquitex has the best caps. If you've got any kind of arthritis or anything like that where you have trouble with your hands, the Liquitex caps are self-cleaning. They're nice and big and they're self-cleaning. And I say that because, we have a lot of times people that have the most time to paint, I don't know why paint companies have not figured this out, they're retired or seniors or pretty close to seniors because their kids are grown, or maybe they're in high school and they're not interacting with them as much anymore. Maybe somebody's driving, they don't have to haul them off to games and stuff, and they have a little more time for their own hobbies. And those are the people, and so it's funny that more people don't think about that when they're designing products.
Teresa would like to thank you for that donation. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thanks, Teresa. And did you have a question to go with your donation? Anything you want us to ask?
No, but somebody else had a question. They
What's that?
Want to know is yellow oxide and yellow ochre, what's the difference between them?
Oh, they say there is. Oh, I want you to save that question for next Monday.
Oh, no. Oh,
yeah, and here's
not
why.
Me. I don't have to save it.
Yeah, you do. Here's why. Because my friend Daniel Elliott, who's the manager of Jerry's Artorama down here in Houston, who's the encyclopedia of all things paint and materials and stuff, he will be answering. Write your questions down. This is a special show we're going to do next Monday, and we'll probably do some painting too. He's a master of clouds. I really love Daniel's clouds.
Master of what?
Clouds, painting clouds.
Oh, better than you?
Oh, nobody's better than me, John, but he's
I'm
certainly
just-
as good
hey,
as
you
me.
know
I'm
what,
kidding. Yeah, he's really good, and he's an oil painter and an acrylic painter and a watercolorist and a pastel. Guy's really jack of all trades. Like I say, he's fantastic, and he's very camera shy, but he's offered to be on our show. So I want you to keep some questions
so
in
be
mind.
nice to him.
And listen, if you want to use the contact us on our website, if you have a particular question you want him to answer and you're afraid that maybe that so many people will be on then because they hear he's coming and Cinnamon said she'd promote it. Let's see, what was that? CAD red medium. Let me put my, that's CAD red light hue. So I really didn't want that color, but that's okay. We want CAD red medium. I'm going to show you the difference. That's a light orange. This is CAD red medium. Do you see the difference?
Oh, I see the difference.
Yeah, you can see it now. And let's see, I think I needed something called burnt umber. That's raw. Let me just find that.
Hey, we'd like to thank
Purple.
Rose for the donation. Greatly appreciated.
Oh gosh, thanks so much, Rose. Really, we so appreciate that. Really, really do. So I'm putting out some Dazzling Purple. You know, I never used this color. Back when my daughter Cinnamon was in junior college, she wanted to take an art class, and they didn't have enough people to take the class. So I talked to a couple of my girlfriends, and we went up there and took the class. And even though I probably could have taught it, we took the class. And I learned about Dazzling Purple from that teacher, and also how to stretch a canvas. And I've showed millions of people how to stretch a canvas, but Bonnie Newman showed me. Now that's how art's supposed to be. It's not, you know, I don't have any great secrets that I've got to keep to myself. I want to make sure that if I know it, I want to pass it on to you, so you can take advantage of these things too. I think that's real important. Now we're looking for one more color here, which should be right here, burnt umber.
Teresa has a question for you. Oh, no,
Sure.
wait a minute. Baltimore wants to know, could I use gouache?
You know, gouache is
back-
kind of a thick watercolor, and yeah, you probably could. Sure, why not? Sure.
And Teresa wants to know, have you ever thought about considering doing tutorial on portraits?
Well, you know what? I think that probably my specialty is color and landscapes and still lifes and things like that. Portraits are not my specialty, so I would be reluctant. I wouldn't. I might do it, but.
It's not in the foreseeable future.
But not in the foreseeable future. I really do great portraits of animals, and just like doctors have specialties, I would say that my specialty is acrylics and these kinds of things. All right. So now we've got all these colors out here. Now everybody's happy with that. Yeah. Now what we want to do is we're going to cover the whole canvas with one color first and let it dry. But this canvas, little 9x12 canvas, is very rough. I've got some light sandpaper, and I'm going to sand it. And somebody wrote and said, well, they read somewhere that you're supposed to take like a modeling paste and cover the canvas with modeling paste, very thin, maybe put a color with it so you can see it. Instead of, you know, that's fine for canvas board, or if you're doing some very, very detailed work like the kind of roses you might put on a teacup, you know, that kind of stuff, really extremely detailed work. But for what we're doing, this is fine.
Okay, I have muted you because that comes through very loud.
Okay.
So if you're talking now, they're not going to hear you. So
Just take seconds. This is a very fine sandpaper. This is a number
320.
320. Yeah, John orders me some of this. We've been using that one sheet forever. You just need one sheet, probably lasts you forever, right? This is very fine. And then you see here when I hear that, I'm going to go ahead and mist the back of this canvas with water, and we're going to stretch it out a little bit. And if I really wanted it to stretch out and be tighter, it should sound like a drum when you thump it. Then you might use hot water, or maybe even use a hairdryer. But that's how you stretch a canvas. And sometimes you'll have somebody, particularly if you have a big canvas, you'll have someone say, let me carry your canvas for you. It's usually some helpful person in the house, and say, oh, you've got all those canvases, let me carry it in. And what they do is they carry it this way, and they'll put a knuckle dent in your picture. Or maybe you've leaned it up against something sharp, and you've got, it's not a hole, but it's a dent. All you do is just take some water, hot water, and spray the back, and you're good to go. Now so there are materials that there's stuff you can buy that does this, but water's generally free. You know, stuff we're putting on there. Okay, so, all right, so what we want to do is start with the peach background. So let's just talk about that for a minute. I like to get down to the basics of these kinds of things. Here's my grayscale, okay? Now, this peach color, if it were black and white, it's going to fall on this side of this grayscale, if we had a black and white photo of this. So when you're mixing any color, and if you're not sure, just shoot a quick black and white photo of it till you start remembering this stuff. It's going to start either with white or yellow. Be 98% white or yellow and something else. All right, that's real important to know so you don't waste a lot of paint. Okay, so we're not going to start with red or yellow. We're going to start with white, and then put a little yellow in there and red, and make a peach. Yellow and red kind of make a peach, kind of an orange color, peach color. So let's see, we had here's a palette knife, and I'm just going to, because I'm going to use all of this. Trust me, it's going to take every bit of this white and then some to do this. Where did I put that white? Let me just put a little more white out because I know I'm going to need every bit of that to cover. It's a little bigger canvas tonight than we normally do. So, okay, so as I'm painting this, I want to tell you about the Mummy Brown story, okay? Because this is back when look, what happened was that each artist, just like chefs, had their own paint recipes. And so, you might get literally a brown that you could get in Holland that you couldn't get in France. And these guys, boy, they kept these secrets really guarded. At one point, the English government put out a cry to their artists and said, listen, so many people have died with the recipes for things, and we no longer have a good recipe for varnish, and the varnish that's on our paintings in museums is turning them black. And I mean, this is how they really, you guys are so spoiled. We're also spoiled. You just go to the art store. There's hundreds of different types of paint you can buy, and even the crummiest stuff is better than most of those guys ever had. Okay, I mean, just really, we're so lucky. And so anyway, back when they started, figuring out that there was a business, just like the internet is a business now and stuff on the internet, somebody figured out, oh, we can sell paint. So maybe you weren't such a hot artist, but you were a better chemist. And so the paint companies started up. Winsor Newton has been around since then, making watercolors. And still, there's one recipe for Winsor Newton paint that's, I'm going to put a little of this cad red medium here, a tiny little bit, kind of like that, which is like a little orange color. Okay.
You just got that grayscale at like Amazon or an art store, right?
Yeah, I just got it at Jerry's, yeah. Okay, and I'm going to take a little tiny bit of yellow and put in there, and I'm going to make my little peach color. Okay. Isn't that pretty? Looks like frosting. It's kind of frosting I would eat. When I was a kid, I used to make frosting for myself. What do you do with making? Nothing. I just sitting in the kitchen. I figured out I didn't need to make the cake. I could just make the frosting, which is all I wanted anyway. And I used to make blue frosting. It was my favorite thing.
I did blue.
Did you do blue frosting?
I did blue and I did green.
Yes, those were my favorite. Sometimes I'd put a tiny bit of lemon juice in it.
Oh, that's just crazy.
I know, it's just really wild, isn't it?
You're living on the edge there.
I know, but yeah. Oh, it's so funny. That's so cute, John. You did it too.
Hey, we'd like to thank Fadar for the donation.
Who?
I always do the name wrong on this one. Farada.
Thank you.
Farada.
Okay, thank you very much.
They'll tell me again. I never remember it.
Yes, we appreciate it. And if you want to make a comment, you could phonetically spell it for us so we
I
spell
still
it.
Wouldn't help me.
Okay, yeah, no, probably not for you, right? Probably not. All right, we're going to use a fairly big brush because we're covering a fairly large piece of canvas.
Okay, when you say fairly big, do you have a size?
This is a number 12 bright ruby satin silver brush, but
Thank you, you
could have used
I had it right this time.
Farada. You could use
Filbert.
Filbert. That'd be okay too. But right now we're just going to cover some canvas. Now here's what we're going to do a little bit differently. We're going to wet the brush, and then we're going to take look, I got a clean one now. Ooh, I can't believe it. Someone wrote us the other day. True story. Not that I ever lied to you.
Online, we're not going to say your name, so don't worry about it.
We're not going to say your name. And said, how do you get the acrylic paint out of the claws? And they're going, you don't. That's why you have the cloth. They just get full of paint. That's the whole idea of the cloth. Do I have one here somewhere that's got full of paint somewhere behind you?
No, I took them all away from you.
Well, here, look. See, you can wash them.
But that's going to.
But they're still going to have the paint. But you can still use them over and over again. The reason paper towels are fine for, they're great for, when you're using a lot of mediums because you don't want a lot of thick, gucky mediums in these. But these absorb so much better than paper towels, and they're, again, you can use them again. I buy a whole stack of these from Costco. They're in the automotive section, but they're not the automotive towels. They're real But you know, just an old bath towel that you want to go out and buy yourself some new towels, then just sit there and cut up all your others, right? Say, oh, I'm sorry, I need paint rags. That's why I had to go out and buy new towels. Who's got a problem with that? Nobody. Challenge, right? All right. So now look at this beautiful peach color that we've made. See that?
Down and
Isn't
across.
that just
down
pretty?
and
Down and across. Yeah, that's it, John. Down and across. So you get sort of
See,
tired.
every night I do this, when I do the leftover paints, I say to myself, down and across, down and across.
Yeah, John makes all these little extra, painting things for us, and then we can use those when we go places. So anyway, you can see what I'm doing. That I'm not trying to do it too thick, and I'm not using any more water. That's it. It was just a damp brush like that. And we've got some peach color. And see, what did I do with that painting? Oh, here, I've got to still see it.
We don't
yeah.
need to see it. We
Yeah,
have
you
it.
don't. You have it. So, all right. So, okay. So this is what we're doing. So here's the deal. So back, it was almost like the old gold rush for paint when everybody started doing paint. And there were these two British kids who, I don't know if their parents were archaeologists or something, found themselves over in Egypt. And in those days, the Egyptian government, wasn't as on top of people ripping off their antiquities as they are very cautious now to not let stuff get out of the country. But then it probably didn't occur to them anybody do it, I'm sure. Because, it's so astounding when I tell you the story. So anyway, these kids started stealing mummies, and thinking there was something in the embalming fluid, and they ground them up and they turned them into a brown paint, and they called it mummy brown. And that's all they sold was mummy brown, and they were making a really good living with these mummies. And I'm talking about some of the major works in museums in Europe have some of this mummy brown paint. Well, somehow it came out that they got caught. They got a little careless. They got caught. Who knows? Maybe they bragged. I don't know how they got caught. It's an interesting story, but they got caught. Now, and that was the end of the mummies. Now, interestingly, nothing terrible happened to them because obviously, they weren't their king. Could you imagine somebody taking someone's king or queen or czar or ex-president and saying, we need paint, we're just going to grind him up and put him into paint? Well, can you imagine how horrified the Egyptians were when they heard about this?
Yeah, it probably wasn't real popular.
No one, everybody hates this. Just what a thing to do, right? And nothing happened to these kids. Nothing, just slap on the wrist. You can't have any more mummies kind of thing, right? Oh, well. So then they thought, well, maybe it really wasn't the embalming fluid. Perhaps it was just cadavers. So then they started robbing graves in England. And suddenly it was the English relatives, and that was a whole new deal now, right? What? You're doing what? And so, of course, they went to jail after that. And the story made the paper, around 1906 or something, made the papers. And this one artist in New York invited all his friends over and had all his tubes of mummy brown, and he gave them a funeral and buried them in the backyard.
Oh.
So anyway, that was the story of mummy brown. But now people can't just put anything in paint. You know what I mean? They can't. You can't grind. You can't. Hit the Humane Society. You can't do any of that. None of that's happening.
Not allowed anymore.
Not allowed anymore.
Hey, we'd like to thank Angie for the donation. Greatly appreciate that.
Oh, Angie, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you like that story and more of those kinds of stories, where I got that from was a book by Victoria Finley, and it was called The History of the Color Palette. Oh, look at my new thing.
Oh, look what I did for it. Now,
Notice
can
the palette.
You see that? The palette is nailed down
It's
now.
nailed down. We've got these little clippy things, and it's nailed down.
You can't move the palette on me.
I can't move the palette, but what we've got is I've got this little lid, a cover.
Look at that, huh?
So now I can dry.
Oh, here, let me turn you down as you do this.
You know what would be better than that? Can I show you what would be better than that?
Well, I have to turn you back on.
Yeah, turn me back on.
Oh.
Now look at this. Now what I've done is I've created
a chamber.
A chamber, and this is going to dry even faster. So that's even more clever, isn't it? Look
Take
at that.
the bear's idea one step further.
That's it.
All right, well, we've got her muted for a half a second. I was supposed to have something up here to show you, but I don't. I spent the day getting my new Texas driver's license. That only took 2.5 hours. And people say that was a record. It's unbelievable there. I do want to pop up a window here real quick. I want to see if this comes up. This is our website. Ah, it did. Can you guys see that? Just give me a yay or nay. And what I'm going to do is during one of the breaks is I'm going to show you a couple things on this and show you where we're going to talk about the current word game we got going on right now. If you got your newsletter, you know more about that. So let me know if that came through for you. It should be faster drying, as she says. All right, so that came through great.
How'd that work, John? Did your thing?
Yeah, it came up and they can see it. So we're
that's
going to try
awesome.
to do something with that a little bit later. Will you quit hitting my camera?
Sorry.
You smacked it big time.
Did I? Sorry.
Oh, huge. I have to come over now.
You have to come and fix. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Why do you always smack it?
Well, because I had this big lid. I just had no idea how big the lid was. How is it now?
I don't know what you did.
I give up. What did I do?
I don't know.
Well, you're looking at it.
I can't see it here. I got to go back now. I go back and forth, back and forth. You think this is easy?
No.
Oh, perfect. See how good I am?
Of course you are. You're just marvelous. And have I not told you that enough today? Can I tell you that again? You're marvelous. All right. So see, pretty good, right? Did we do great?
Well, now you're on the other side.
All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to put a horizon line on this, and we're going to come down about. Let's see. Oh, I think about this far, which is how far? I'm going to say 3 fingers, which is. I like that for those of you who don't like to use rulers, but it's about 2 inches, okay, 3 fingers. And I'm going to take a little piece of pencil here. Oh, I had some, don't you love all this stuff? Could I have any more brushes? I just keep buying more and more Ruby Satin Silver brushes.
Let me just slide over 1 second. This is her brush area.
Want to see it?
Yeah, do we have enough brushes?
Never
How many
enough
brushes does one person need? I'm
Tons.
thinking 3.
No, we're not counting these, right?
Put it away.
This is great for like big stuff,
Big stuff.
This is just some of the brushes.
Yeah, this is just one studio. The other studio has another set.
All right, so we're going to put a line across here like that. That's going to be what we call a horizon line. Horizon lines generally need to be straight when you're painting an ocean. I mean, if you were very close up on the waves, perhaps some waves would be coming up in front, and so you wouldn't see the horizon line, but in general, it's straight. You don't want the water to fall off the ocean. Pre-Columbus stuff, right? So there's my horizon line, which you can barely see, but I can see it. Okay, there's my horizon line. And then I want to come down here, and I'm just going to take some chalk, some bigger chalk here, maybe some brown chalk, and I'm going to start here. If I were to, almost divide this picture in half, not quite in half. Let me just show you. This original picture was 6, and so I'm in half is 3. So I'm a little bit beyond that, and like this is like the middle. So I'm going to come in here. This is about half. I'm going to say that's about where, about 2 fingers down from my horizon line, which is right here, in case you were wondering. I'm going to just put a rock here, and the bottom of the rock is like this, okay, because it's a shelf, and then I've got sort of an angle like it's coming down like this. Does that make sense? That's my angle of my rocks. So the next rock would be coming here, and I mean they're rocks, so if you don't have them exactly the same, that's okay. And then this one's coming. Let's see, I had this one, and I've got one like this that's coming that way. And I've got a little one that's coming about halfway here, kind of a funny little rock that's coming this way. Then we've got one about 3 fingers up. Yeah, that's probably about right here, like that. Little one that's coming right about like that. And then down here, about 2 fingers up from the bottom, we've got one that angles this way, and it's coming up almost like ears, and kind of down like that.
Looks
okay?
like a fox.
Almost like a fox ears, and then kind of coming in like that. So those are our rocks, and I mean they're rocks. So if your rocks are a little different, who would know, right? Maybe more erosions happened since my rocks were there. And let's just come up here like this and make that horizon line a little bit better so you can see it. Okay, so that's basically, what we're painting. You can see that. Okay. Now, one of the things we talked about, so we know that, for instance, when you're painting Impressionism, there's lots of little brushstrokes, and generally they go in the same. Here's why they did it, and the reason I gave you the history of the paint. The reason they did it was because they were outside. The Impressionists were the first ones to grab all their toys and go outside and paint, and they saw the world in different colors. I mean, the colors were different, and so they're painting on location, and they've got to take, this oil paint doesn't dry for, weeks, and they wanted to finish a painting while they were out there, so they're layering one color on top of another, barely touching it and constantly kind of overlapping and creating little dots of color to make other colors, okay? So your eye almost is mixing too. So they couldn't do a painting, say like this. Again, this is one of our paintings that we have. This was originally done in 1800 in Ecuador by an artist. And again, this is not impressionistic painting, okay? It's probably done inside a studio, okay? Or something, again, like I'm showing you like this. They couldn't paint anything like that. That took just, hours of work, and you had to wait for things to dry. So again, this is sort of an overlapping effect to kind of overcome that. And that's what they did. And there's varying degrees of that. For instance, some paintings were painted by an impressionist, but they're not impressionistic. Does that make sense? In other words, sometimes they were in the studio and let something dry over weeks and times and stuff like that, and they were all impressionist artists, but not every painting they did was impressionistic or done in that style. How's that? And so, for instance, in fact, when they asked what the term meant, for them it meant something like just how you see the outdoors or something, kind of a loose translation, just kind of their interpretation of their impressions of the outdoors. But it came to also sort of represent these tiny little brushstrokes. Here's an example of a Vincent van Gogh, another lesson we have on our website. Now, one of the things that does not happen in most 99% of all impressionistic paintings is there's no outlining. Now, Van Gogh breaks all those rules. He did all the tiny little brushstrokes. Do you see that? All these tiny little brushstrokes. But then he went around and he outlined everything, okay? Which was that was his style of painting, but it evolved. He didn't paint everything like this, just some of his stuff, okay? So again, that's kind of the Starry Night being, your number one thing of what you think about Impressionism is all those little tiny brushstrokes, okay? So we're going to start with that too. We're going to go ahead and I'll put some more white paint out. So those are some of the things you need to know about Impressionism. And let's see, what do we do with the white paint? All right, so we're going to I think I'm just going to leave the cap off of this. I'm using it so much. Here we go, some white paint. We'll put it right up there. So I'm going to take some cad red medium and white and make the same color again, okay? Now this was just our background color. We're going to make it a little bit darker now than we had it before. And we're going to come in here like this using a small angle. This is a 1/4 inch, what is this? Let me put 3/8 inch ruby satin silver angle brush, which I just absolutely love these. If you haven't tried these brushes, now look, I'm using this brush. They're not going up like this. They're not going down like this. They're not this way. Everything is parallel to the canvas. And we're putting the sky in. I want a little bit deeper, a little bit more orange. It's a sunset, so this is our next kind of level of painting. And then we're just going to go over our background. And if our background shows through, that's fine. We don't mind, because this is how we're painting this. I'm going to put a little magenta with some of that and add a little more white. And again, we're layering colors. Okay, that's what we want to do. Layer a few little colors just right on top of another, like that. Paint's still wet. Now, this is where you could use mediums. If you wanted to, you could use a medium and even make this thicker. But you'll notice that another identifying mark of impressionistic paintings, besides this overlapping, is the fact that you use a lot of paint. You're using a lot of paint, and you're just laying down thick layers of paint, coming right down here to the top of that, like this. And we're going to just start putting this in. Now, on a painting this size, I'm going to just chat with you as we do this. It's a little bit like watching grass grow. Once you see about the first 3 strokes, and you're going, yeah, so what else you got? Got any more stories? Because this is kind of boring. This is how you do it, okay? So but it can be very relaxing. Put on some music and just start popping away your little brush strokes. Now, as we come up here, I might add a little bit of purple and white and put a little of that peach color in there and kind of gray it. And I might come up here into the sky like this and kind of just barely overlap that. Let some of that lighter peach show through, okay? Coming up here like this and suggesting some sort of kind of clouds like that. And you'll notice every 3-4 brush strokes, I'm getting more paint. This is really important when you see that, because I'll just keep adding paint to this. So some of the other things that, you're talking about, the evolution of paint and paint in tubes, all right? There's a watercolor color by Winsor Newton. Have you ever noticed that some paints are more expensive than others? Red costs more than white, for instance. And watercolor is the biggest culprit of this. I'm going to put a little magenta in there and a little of that. We're going to put a little bit of magenta in here. I didn't have it in the other one, but we're going to expand on that just a touch. Put a little magenta in here like that. Watercolor particularly, you can, some oil paints, some brands of oil paints, some paints are so much more expensive than others. And there's a paint that is produced by Winsor Newton. I forget what the color is, but in watercolor, it takes them 6 months to make. And they've been doing this the same way for over 100 years. They don't tell anybody how they do it. Now, if somebody's taking 6 months to make something for you, okay, so it costs more money. Sometimes I think it's nice to hear these stories because then you so appreciate it. And of course, the pigments that go into, say, red paint are more expensive than the pigments that go into white paint, so you pay more for it. And paints have numbers on them. For instance, this magenta is a number 3. Now, maybe in an oil paint, that doesn't mean diddly squat, but every brand has their own numbers. I know that's crazy, right? But generally, the higher the number, the more pigment they've got in the paint. And paints that are not numbered, where all the paints cost the same, generally are not professional paints. But then what Michaels did was they went ahead and said, okay, we're going to charge $17.50 for every tube of paint regardless, except yellow, I think, and red. They couldn't do that. And they just did an average, where other like, for instance, in Liquitex, this is a Cad Red medium, and do I have a number on this one? This is a series 2, but Cad Red, that's a 2. But for instance, Cad Red medium in Ornamental Scarlet, there's a red. In Matisse, that's a 3. Okay, so again, that's why you're paying more money for certain colors. Good to know, right? Good
Claudia
to know.
wants to know, what medium would you ginger suggest with the sky? Apparently, you said you could add a medium.
Well, yeah. For instance, I think you could use there's a couple of things that you could use that would be really good. You could use a light gel, like a light, they have heavy gloss gel or heavy matte gel or
You're
light.
trying to give it a little bit more.
Yeah, it'll
thickness?
give you more body.
Okay.
Okay. And if your drying is an issue and you just don't feel like waiting around for stuff to dry, because gel really doesn't dry quickly, you could use a light whipped. Liquitex makes a really nice whipped modeling paste, and Matisse makes something called impasto medium that I love. Nobody makes anything like that, but I generally don't show those, and here's why: because people can't get them, so it's not fair to show you stuff you can't get. Here's a little yellow and white. We're coming up over here at the bottom of our sunset like this, just here at the bottom like that.
Mary wants to know, how important is one-point perspective in this painting?
Well, it's not.
It really isn't.
It's not. This has nothing to do with one-point perspective, except that just know that the farther things are away, the smaller they get. Okay. But for instance, there could be a giant rock back here that was bigger than this rock, so you can't really go by that. But the farther things are away, the smaller they get. But one-point perspective is, and two-point and so forth, is more, and we're going to be doing some classes on that, by the way. Do you have that painting I've got on the Venice? Where did we put Venice?
Oh, Venice.
Yeah, let's show Venice for a minute. I'll show you Venice, which just has a lot. Usually you think of perspective as doing lots of drawings. Now you see I've got a straight line across there. I don't really particularly like that, so I'm going to come up here like this and come into my sky a bit, a little more peach and white, okay? And come up into my sky like that. I just don't want a completely straight line. That's sort of not cool, right? So then the more layers you can do. Do you see Venice? We had Venice last night. All right, so let's just come on in here. Let's just make that more of this color, yellow and Cad Red medium and white. And let's just come on in here now and keep going with our color here. All right, we're just going to keep doing these little brush strokes like that. I'm going to put a little peach with it, a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow. Going to make this sort of, let's see, more. I'm going to make a lot of this paint here like that. A little peach, a little more orange. There we go. Some sort of nice darker color here. Here we go. More white. Ooh, more like this. Let's try that. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to make more of this color. And you see how I'm just coming back here like that. And all these little brush strokes are going this way as we're doing that. And John's like, you know, isn't this extraordinary? We just had this painting out last night to show you. We lose more stuff, but I found Jeannie. Now, you're going, who's Jeannie? Well, Jeannie is the portrait I did for last Friday. I had there was a 3-color challenge, kind of a collaboration with an artist named Ray Grimes, who does really cool abstracts. And I said, let's do it, and we'll only use 3 colors and just mix them. So I used Cad Red Medium, Cad Phthalo Blue, Cad Yellow Medium. Those were my 3 colors, and then white and black. And this was the painting, and this is the portrait of Jeannie. And that's a video on YouTube right now, which I think you guys might really like. We couldn't find that last night. I had to show you Jeannie. And by the way, if you haven't seen our newsletter, we're going to talk about our newsletter, but I want to congratulate Judith Guitar.
Yay, Judith! Woo!
Hey, woohoo! She is our Artist of the Month.
And
we would show you a picture, but John can't find it. But we've got we showed it some pictures she had done last week. You have to look at one of our other videos on YouTube and see it. We're happy to show Judith's picture, but we don't have it yet, right? So sorry. Now you'll notice you don't see any blue yet. We're just putting in this color.
I don't get this.
How could we have lost Venice? It's got to be piled up over there somewhere. I bet it's over there.
Where?
I don't know. Well, go back and take your care of it. You don't get the next break or something. All right,
What's
you see.
Next break. This is live television. We don't have breaks.
We don't have breaks. All right.
Wait, is this you have something new?
Okay, I think I'm going to put out. Yeah. Okay. So let's get a little bit pinker here as we come forward. Here we go, and we're going to just keep going with our colors like that.
Get up again later
and you'll notice I'm using quite a bit of paint. And all the brush strokes are going this way, and this is a fun paint. This is a fun style painting to do. And I really quite enjoy that. Now, a lot of times when you learn the style of painting, this is the trick. When you learn the style of painting, you can do a combination of this and a combination of Impressionism and other style paintings. So you might find this brushstroke very useful in certain artwork, but not so much in others. All right. Now, the reason I'm just there, we're just going to keep going like this. And then we come around our rocks and just keep going forward. And you see me constantly getting more paint like this. And I'm going to put a little bit magenta as I get down here. You can add, it doesn't have to be all the exact same color, but it's nice if you can kind of weave. What you're doing is you're sort of weaving colors into our, light background. Did you find Venice yet?
No.
No. Extraordinary. I've got the chalkboard. Oh, this isn't Venice. No, that's not Venice. Wow, isn't that funny? Well, last night we couldn't. We must have a Grinch that steals our paintings.
The bear.
The bear. Somebody hides our paintings when we're not looking, because I don't know. But anyway, if you didn't get a chance to read our newsletter yet, John's going to talk about that a little bit. We've got a secret word contest going, and the thing of it is that because then we're giving away a really beautiful original painting. Do we have that painting at least to show that we're giving away? Do we have anything to show? No?
Yeah, I was at the DMV all day. Leave me alone.
Yeah, John was two and a half.
That's enough with that.
He was at 2.5 hours at the DMV to get his driver's license, and that wasn't even, he didn't even have to take the test. He just had his Michigan driver's license. Whoops, I don't want that color.
Surrendered. I go, what do you mean surrender? What does that mean?
It means they took it. Anyway, that was, he was there for 2.5 hours to get his driver's license.
It should take 10 minutes.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Dead people outside lying around the block, that kind of thing. This is our second attempt. Now, just so you see that a lot of people just don't appreciate it because you want the texture on this. So this is why we're doing this. And this will, because I'm using quite a bit of paint, this will still give me texture, okay? All these little ridges, I'll get some texture going on this, okay, for sure. definitely get some. Now while that's drying, I'm going to rinse my brush because I've had white on it. Now where's that little grayscale? Once you've been playing on this side of the grayscale, okay, once you've been doing that, you can't get any of these colors if there's any white on your brush. You can't cross over into the dark side, okay, if you've got the light on your brush, okay? You can't go to the dark side. So that means you have to make sure that you have no white on your brush when you go to mix these colors, okay? Everybody's good with that? That way you won't spend hours mixing colors and adding more and more paint wondering what happened. So we're going to take some burnt umber and some ultramarine blue, like that, and we're going to make a dark brown color. And this is we're just going to paint this in like that. And when you're painting rocks, try to make them where if you were climbing on them, you'd cut your knee.
Ouch.
You know, you want to have them kind of not round, rolly hills. So even though we may have drawn them in like that, what you want to do when you paint them is to start adding some more ridges and so forth. But why am I going flat on the bottom? Okay, out comes the chalkboard, which I put where? Where'd I put the chalkboard?
It's there in your in front
Oh,
of
I
your
see it.
knee.
I see it. Yeah. Okay. No, I don't. Yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. Out comes the chalkboard. All right. You ready for this? This is important to know. So, all right. Here's my horizon line. Here's my ocean. And here's the bottom of the ocean, like this. You don't see it, but this is the bottom down here. Can you see that? There's the bottom. Okay. Okay. Now, and this is what. So I've got a rock. So it's not up here floating like an iceberg. Okay. All right. It's not up here floating like an iceberg. It goes all the way down to the bottom of this. And if there's another rock that's showing, it also is touching the bottom. And if there's another rock here, it's touching the bottom of the ocean, okay? So that when you have water, if the water line is coming around your rocks like this, if you're saying this is your water line, okay, like this, then, let's see, maybe we're just going to paint yellow for the water because I don't have any blue chalk, right? Here's my water, okay, coming around my rocks like this. Okay, so it has to have a straight line. I don't know if I'm drawing that well, but it has to have the inlet's coming around like this. It's coming in like this, okay, like this. So that the rocks are straight on the bottom because that's where your water is, all right? If I have another rock over here that's coming up, stepping out of the water, here's the water, okay? Okay, sticking up out of the water, but this rock actually is touching the ocean. Does that make sense?
They're not floating rocks.
They're not floating rocks. So that's why when you're painting rocks, generally speaking, unless a wave is crashing on them, they're kind of flat this way, all right? Everybody's kind of, that's good to know, right? Put a little purple with that. I'm going to paint this one a little bit darker.
Somebody wanted to know how far down that first rock was from the horizon line. It looks like about the same that it was from the sky.
This
Looks
one's
like
about
it's
3 fingers,
which
yeah,
was
and
2
this was
inches.
3 fingers, which was 2 inches, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I think that that's important, and it can have some little inlets like this, but it is still got to be kind of level at some point. You know, the water's going to lap around it and be level. You've got to think about that. Let's take a little bit of burnt sienna here. Let's do this one and say, here's this rock. Okay. Like that.
And again, tonight's painting's on a 9x12.
Yeah, 9 by 12. It's a little bit bigger tonight. We needed that a little bit bigger to get the effect that we wanted. All right, so we're saying there's that rock, and then let's take this rock. Let's just take some burnt umber here and say here's this rock. And let's take a little bit more blue here. I'll put a little bit more blue in it. I'm going to say here's this rock, and it's coming this way. Maybe we're going to change the shape of it a little bit so they're not quite so cloned. You know, there's a tendency to just make the same shape all over again. We're just going to say that. There you go. So there's this rock, like that. So we're just painting these in now, just getting the underpainting in on the rocks, okay, which we can, you know, easily do. And then let's see, let's take a little burnt sienna and say here's this one coming up this way. And as we paint this, we'll we'll put in the shadows. And then the same thing with this one. Let's just get this nice and dark like this. And again, we'll kind of reshape this now that we've got the paint out here. We're going to reshape this rock like this, get it nice and dark, maybe even put a little purple with that, get it nice and dark down here. And again, it's flat this way. It can go at this angle, you know, but it's still kind of flat like that. Okay, like that. So there's our rocks. So we don't need a lot more rocks, okay? I think that's pretty good. We don't need a lot more rocks than that. I'm going to make this a little darker down here at the bottom. The same thing here. I'll put a little purple in here and get this a little darker this way, and maybe a little bit right there. Okay, now what will happen at some point, we have to dry something, okay? Because I don't want to put the blue over the peach. Does that make sense? With the peach being wet.
And why would you not want to do that, Ginger?
Well, because it's going to mix the colors, it's going to make a weird color. It's not going to get the color I want, all right? And so if I put, for instance, here's a little peach, and if I put some phthalo blue over it, sorry, some white and some peach, if I do that, it kind of grays it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you could. For instance, I can kind of show you. If I come back here like this and say, here's my horizon, I can get away with it a little bit, right? And I probably want a little more ultramarine blue with that. Generally, your horizon line is a little bit darker toward the back, and you want this pretty straight here. See, like that. We're going to say, let's put a little bit more ultramarine blue with that color. Might be able to actually go over this. Okay, so now if I go over this, well, actually, I'm kind of able to do that, John. Look at that, because it does gray a little bit, but I don't mind. All right, we're going to get away with this. We're going to gray this a little bit as we paint, and again, we want the light to be shining through our water. You see, like that. So you want to keep these little lines very level. We're doing kind of a cross between phthalo blue and ultramarine blue and white. So we've kind of almost got two blues going here. More ultramarine blue toward the back, okay? I want to come this way and leave some of this peach showing through. Now, if you lost the peach, could you put it back? Sure. So it's at the end of the world, and these brush strokes are generally smaller as we go back. We want the brush strokes a little smaller and keep them level, all right? You see how we're doing that? Okay. And let's take a little more of this color here like that. And let's see, in your angle brush, do you see how there's a long end of this angle brush? So that if you're going this way, the long end's pointing there and you're pulling it back. You don't do this. You don't push that way up. You always pull back like that, okay? So I'm going to rinse my brush because I'm picking up lots of colors of paint, which I don't want. Put a little more white here, maybe a little bit of burnt umber. Just kind of gray this blue a bit, like that. Now let's just keep coming like this. We'll come back this way. Now I know that this rock is going to be very light here on top. So I'm just going to creep in like that, creep around it, little tiny brush strokes. This is a fun painting to do. It's not hard. It's you know, takes a little, you know, there's a little bit, probably maybe a little more precision. So I started to tell you some of the things that you want to know about acrylic artists, that, you know, the 5 things, you know, that you need to know when you're painting Impressionism with acrylics, that, you know, very helpful to know, okay? And the number 3 is that you're implying detail with your brush strokes, not with lines. In other words, your brush strokes are implying the detail. So, for instance, as an example, in this painting, we implied a lot of detail with lines. Do you see the lines here? In here, we implied a lot of detail with lines in this painting. And this one, here's another example of a painting that's one of our Wave and Water Masterclass paintings, and see the ocean. There still are some lines here. You know, you can see some lines, even though there's some blended areas. Okay, but in Impressionism, the brush strokes. I know when you found Venice, that's a really good example of that. Here's Venice. Look at all the lines that are in this painting. Okay, that's Venice. Venice is our Wave and Water Masterclass release for gingercooklive.gallery for the month. Every month they get a new painting. Sometimes it's the ocean, sometimes it's a lake and reflections or waterfall. This month it's reflections from Venice. And that's on a 16 by 12 canvas We said, how many hours was this? This was a big, long
Four and a
lesson.
half.
4.5 hours and 50.
This is a box of cookie and a glass
It's a
of
box
milk.
of cookies. You know, we have one cookie to a box of cookies. A box of cookies, and John likes to say a glass of milk. So that's this painting for a Wave and Water Masterclass. Wanted to just show you that. Thanks for finding Venice. So we'll just keep going here with our colors. Now, a lot of this is dried.
Here.
Yeah.
Someone suggested
Sure.
I should practice long brush strokes. I suppose this is opposite. What are the applications of each? Can someone maybe answer this question? Maybe Ginger?
Well, here's the thing. This is impressionistic style of painting. And like I said, this is hard for a lot of people. Because, for instance, in a painting like, say, this one, right? There's none of those kind of brushstrokes in this at all. This is all blended, right? There's none of that.
No, is that still considered Impressionism?
No. This was 100 years before the Impressionists were ever born, right? This is more, this is painting, but it's, they didn't have cameras and they painted what they saw, all right? So it's not exactly photorealism, but it's pretty close, okay? It's still painting. In other words, it's still seeing the world through the eyes of an artist, but it's not impressionistic, it's not abstract, all right? So you want to think about that. For sometimes you need, long brush strokes, like for instance, if you're doing certain kinds of water, you may want to go all the way across with the, depending on what you're painting, it all depends on what you're painting. That's the deal. So you should know how to do all of it. And again, this is counterintuitive for a lot of artists, this type of painting. It's sort of, it just is. I'm going to come across here like this and bring some on this side, like that. And I want to bring a lot more blue down in here. Now you notice I'm constantly getting paint. I'm going to bring a lot more blue closer to our rocks, because we're going to say those are more of the shadow colors. So as I come in here to our water, remember I told you this had to be level. You can have it different heights, but you can say there's like little kind of inlets of riverlets where the water is, but it's still level like that. We're just going to keep going this way with it. And again, we're going to layer colors. This is all layering different blues, coming around here like this, like that. Here we go. And all the brush strokes stay level. If you start having some go like that, you can't, and that's where people, you got to keep it level, like this. There we go. We're going to come around, maybe leave a little bit of light here against this rock, kind of a light edge. If I don't leave it, and I think on this one too I will, then all down close to here, which is kind of cool. All this is sort of blue in here, and let's put a little bit of brown with that, a little bit of burnt umber. You could use raw umber too. The brush strokes are a little bit bigger, kind of down here towards the front. We start putting this sky in, or rather this water in, and we're going to put some of the sky color in here too. But right now we're just putting in the blue like that, all across here like this.
Barbara would like to know which blue and red make purple.
Well, dazzling purple is a color, Barbara, you can't make. She wants to know which blue and red make purple. Naphthol red and probably ultramarine blue will make a purple, but it will not make you have to buy some colors. They all like to tell you that in school, but in reality, some colors just don't. You can't get the right color. You can't, for instance, for the life of you, you're never going to get a Pepto-Bismol bright pink. You almost have to buy that color. Magenta and white kind of will make one, but you really can't get it. You can't get that's why they have iridescent and bright colors, and depending on the pigments. And certain less expensive brands of paint, they won't spend the money for the good pigments for the red, so you'll never get a good red either. You'll get a nice bright red. It's kind of a shame, but if you're just starting out, people think they save money by buying inexpensive paints, and I promise you that in my experience, you waste so much paint trying to get the right color, you might as well bought it in the first place. All right, let's just come across here like this, and let's just keep putting these little brush strokes in like that. And we can be letting some of this dries, and you can see how we're getting it. I want to do a little bit more ultramarine blue back here now. See, this is my horizon lines is where the sky meets the ocean if there are no, or the land if there are no mountains, okay? And generally speaking, horizon lines are straight unless there's mountains, okay? So even in the water, and I've noticed in oceans that the very back horizon line is generally darker. There's almost like an ultramarine blue dark horizon line here. Coming back here like that. There is a little bit darker. And we're going to take a little bit of purple and white and add that to the blue. And we're going to put a little bit of this purple color in here now too, over the blue. Let's see if we can't do that. Just a little bit of that. So some of it for our sky. We're going to start adding that color like that. And I think we can do a little bit here like that. See, from our sky. And maybe in here like that. We'll put a little of this purple color. Like that, just a tiny bit. Going to bring the color down. And I kind of like that. Let's bring it down in the front here too. Now this is still kind of wet, so I may want to just dry this a little bit. So I'm going to work on the rocks while that's drying. So all right, so the other thing you want to know is I said 5. You said, you know, you want to, let's see, we said always, let's see, put my glasses on so I can read what I wrote. You want to use warm and cool colors for shadows. When, you know, for instance, purple is a nice shadow color. And Impressionists were the first ones to do that. Before that, they were painting in the studio, so the shadows were sort of, they didn't do colored shadows like that. Impressionists were the first ones to come up with that idea of doing that, you know, or they noticed the colors in nature, and they were painting those, which was really quite beautiful. They really brought color to the world. All right, so I've got a little orange here, and I'm going to come up. Now, one of the things you'll notice me do is constantly reshape the brush. I call it pinching, but I'm reshaping it. And I'm going to come up here like this on the top of this edge here of this rock. Now, you'll notice that what's happened is that rock's not totally dry. So as I touch this, I can tap it in, but the more I tap it, you see how this is disappearing? So I want this dry before I try to do any more. So I'm going to take a second, let John tell you about our newsletter and our contest. How's that? Okay?
All right, so I'm going to mute you, boss.
You mute me, and I'm going to put this in the...
in the secret chamber. I can't believe it. How hard is this?
Sorry.
Jeez, I'm telling you guys. All right, let me show you the website, and we're going to try something new and different here. I'm going to turn on our website. Now I got to go to that screen. So I'm hoping you guys can see it. This is our homepage. Now the website is gingercooklive.gallery. And we have a contest right now on a newsletter. See where it says newsletter right here? I'm in the second row of menus. Click on the newsletter. If you did not get the newsletter or have trouble opening the newsletter, click on the newsletter link, and that's going to show you the list of the last newsletters we've done through the ages, basically from the very first one we did. And you can see by the dates we were very inconsistent, but this is our third one delivered on time at the beginning of the month. All right, so click on that, and that's going to show you our newsletter. Now, secret word contest. You could win painting. Read the rules. Very important to read the rules, guys. If you're on the website, contact us. Secret words game contest official entry form. Do not send your guesses under the contact us or any other form. You got to use the secret form. You're back, but you're not seen.
Sorry. You
right.
Unmute me.
Attention. Oh, I've already shot one in from this IP address. Drat. I had to do one for somebody today.
Okay.
Well, normally you would see a form here.
Uh-oh.
Hang on a second.
So nobody can see me yet, right? Because you're still showing forms?
Yep, I'm still showing the form. I didn't even think. Oh, yeah, no, you are. We see your face, as a matter of fact.
Can you see my face? Okay, so you're seeing my face. John's showing you about this. This was really, this is really kind of a fun, this was a fun contest because we're giving away this original painting. This is the original painting we're giving away. And it's an 8x10 wave and water masterclass. It was the original tutorial. It's the original painting by me. And because it's on linen, it's on canvas linen, we'll mail this anywhere in the world. So if you've read the newsletter, you have a chance to win this if you send your entry in on the form. But remember, there's only one form. So if you want to do the bonus things too, you have like 2 weeks to get into it. So take your time to find all those secret words, because you can have up to 6 chances to win, which is a big deal, right? Anyway, but we've already seen a bunch of people that have sort of, I tell you what, we've gotten some correct entries. And the thing of it is that we're not telling people when they're wrong anymore, because they've got a shot to enter and that's sort of it. And the reason we're not is that some people, one lady spent 4 hours today finding all the secret words, and it wouldn't be fair to her to let somebody come back and do it again. So again, we got some really good rules on that. It's a really good contest. Also, we're giving away a month worth of art lessons as second prize, and we've got some free downloadable lessons we're giving away, a week's worth of lessons, 2 week worth of lessons, and of course grand prize is this original painting. And it's again our newsletter, and also the bonus words are in our auction site. And I have over 40 paintings that we have put in our auction. And you don't have to buy anything. You have to register for the auction. We just have a description for each painting. And in some of those paintings, there is a secret word, not all of them. Have just a few secret words in all, and so you've got to find those and write them and put them in. And the more secret words you get right, I think it's in groups of 3, right, John?
Yes.
If you have to, every time
the form up now so I can show
he's got the form. John's going to show you the form. This is a great contest. And again, now John's going to show you the form, and I think it's kind of funny because the winner is going to be announced on the 21st of August, okay? And that is the day of the solar eclipse. And somebody wrote and said, I'm going to be out looking at the solar eclipse. And I'm looking outside here. It's night where I live. I don't know where she live in Alaska or something where it's never dark, because I'm going.
Okay, that's great.
That's good.
So we're still going to do it on the 21st.
We're doing it on the 21st, We're sorry, we're doing it on the 21st. So, but anyway, go ahead, John. You want to talk about the form?
All right, so this is the form. Again, it's under the Contact Us secret form. Put in your name, last name, email address. We don't necessarily need your phone, but we do need an email address. Is most important. The other fields are required. This is broken down into two parts. You have the secret word in the newsletter. In the newsletter, there are 6 secret words. I stress that you find all 6. We have people that entered with 2 or 3. All 6 would be approved. Now, the rest of the rules are down here in the pink section. You can read them at your leisure. But you see right here, it says my guess. You can't, if I filled all this in, it wouldn't go. I believe I have to have some stuff in here. We'll use Sammy. That was fine. We don't need anything there. Okay, so now, what it says right here, contest rules below. Press the bonus entry to activate the send button. You have to click this one. And you go, well, wait a minute, here's a bunch more rules. These are over on the auction site. If you visit the auction site, as Ginger was saying, in the descriptions, we have hidden words. There is a total of 15 hidden words over there out of 40 pictures. Each group of 3 will get you another entry into the contest.
So you could have more than one chance to win. In fact, and there's nothing that says you couldn't win all the prizes. You could win the first prize and the second and the third. It's not one prize per person. We're going to put a big bowl here the night of our drawing, and if you've got your name in there 6 times, good for you. Then you've got 6 chances to win. It's just everybody's going to watch us do it. It's very fair, you guys. And like I say, we'll ship this.
You get right here, get you an extra bonus entry, and then you can send in my guess. That becomes available.
Okay.
I don't want to do it because it'll screw my account up again. But that's all you have to do.
And
I encourage people.
And you don't have to buy anything. There's just nothing to buy.
Nothing to buy, nothing to do other than read. We are shameless. Right here it says self-serving, shameless contest rules created while we're stone sober. Believe it or not, we spend hours besides painting, coming up with these words for you guys, and games, and we're trying to educate you, and we're forcing you to read what we have written.
That's all.
And we want you to look at the websites.
And we want you to know that that Judith, we want you to read the newsletter and congratulate Judith Guitar that she's Artist of the Month, because she's going to get a prize for that,
for
right?
a second. I think we could see Judith.
Yeah, we
right
take him over to
here.
Judith's painting. I mean, every month
we
do
put her painting in there.
Sylvia,
yeah, right there. There's Judith Guitar's painting.
Yeah, and like Sylvia, who won Artist of the Month last month as one of our members, Judith took one of our lessons and created something completely different, which is kind of cool. She went beyond what other people would did, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes you could be an Artist of the Month just because you completed a lot of lessons and you just did just what we said, and you don't have to be the best artist on the planet to be Artist of the Month. Maybe Most Improved would get you Artist of the Month. But if I don't see your paintings, then nothing happens. And one of the advantages of being a member of GingerCookLive.gallery is you get personal art coaching. And somebody asked today, and I don't know how clear we can be on this. We write these things out. We're going to have to hire a professional person to write it, because we get the same question over and over again. So I feel like we're not clear. I don't understand.
Something's wrong somewhere.
I don't know. Maybe I need a recording of the stuff too. Maybe I'll have some people are audio and some people are visual, and some people, it doesn't matter what they read. They need to hear it, and other people need to see it.
And some people smacked upside the head.
Yeah. So the thing of it is that personal art coaching. The thing of it is you can have one painting and send it to me 10 times, and we'll work one little. Sometimes if you have like 100 things wrong with it, which is very rare, I'll probably just mention a couple. If you fix those and you're still going for it, I might point out a couple more and a couple more. I tell you what, we get down to where you really got a piece of artwork when you're done. And it's never criticism. It's always optimal suggestions that help you. Our job is to help you become the best artist you can be. And that's the advantage of personal art coaching. And nobody on the planet offers that for $26 a month. And you can do that. You can just keep sending me the same painting over and over again, or you can send me new things. It's great. Let's go back down to finishing this, John. While we're talking.
Let me bring you back. So if you have questions about the contest, before you enter the contest, write us, ask your question, because we want to make sure you get it. There we go. Ginger's
so we're going to go a little bit. We're going to put some light orange sunset highlights on these rocks. Like this, we're going to suggest rocks. And one of the things you can do is you can put paint on the brush and wipe it off. This is called dry brushing. When you do this, the brush that's not wet. It just has some paint on it. We're just going to say that at the top of these rocks where there's highlights, there's going to be something light. And acrylics dry darker, so we'll do this more than once. And we're leaving some of the dark as shadows in the rocks, like this. But we're going to sort of separate the rocks. Okay, so separate the rocks here like that. You sort of finish that. So here comes this one. See how we're leaving some of the dark for cracks and crevices in the rocks? That's why you paint them dark first. Such a cool way to paint rocks. Of course, you can do it with the palette knife too. That works kind of nice too. So see, just look at this. Look how these rocks are starting to, you're going, wow, look, there's rocks. See, here's another rock here. We've got an imaginary rock coming down here like that. And this one's a little flatter. We got maybe a shelf here like that. Maybe there's a little shelf and it's coming down like that. Okay, so there's a rock. And let's see, what do we got here? Another one right here. Okay, we'll take that. And I'll just sort of dry brush on some of this color here like this. And same thing here. Maybe we've got another little rock kind of out of paint now. When you run out of paint, just get more. If you find yourself painting something, nothing happens. Okay, so you see how I'm putting in these rocks. And I mean, just this lesson on rocks alone is worth the price of admission here, okay? But now let's come up on this thing. We're saying the sun's coming kind of that way, so we're saying that this rock right here on the top is kind of light right here. And again, right like this. We're going to say there's some rock coming here like that. Maybe right like this. Okay. See? So see how we're putting in these rocks? Now, let's get a little more yellow and add to that. That's Cad Yellow Medium, okay? Wipe the brush off, and I'm going to come up here and tap this on. I want, just in a couple places, I want this a bit lighter, see? Like that, and the same thing here. I want that a little bit lighter. It's color number 2. I'm going to leave some of the orange. See, I'm just putting the rocks, and the brush strokes are all kind of going down here at an angle. Okay, like that. And let's see, for sure I want something a little lighter up here like this. Maybe just on part of that, like that. put some orange back. That's a little bit too much. There we go. Now, wet rocks. If you want to say a rock is wet, then one of the ways to say a rock has gotten wet, you know, for maybe the water splashing or something, is to make the highlight blue or purple, kind of a light blue or purple. So if I were to take some white paint, a little bit of purple, like that, put a tiny bit of yellow in it to just sort of gray it just a touch, maybe a little ultramarine blue, right, like that. I might come along here like this on this rock, and maybe I'm going to indicate that perhaps there's some water that may be splashed up on here like that. These are sort of highlights in the kind of shadow highlights, okay? Again, this is something that Impressionists were more likely to do. Like in here like that, I'm going to just say there's a little bit of that color in here like that. Okay, and then we're just adding a bit of that, and for sure maybe along here on this rock, we're going to say that this is maybe where the ocean has come up here. And so notice the brush strokes are coming down this way.
Kind of like the water's running off the rock.
Yeah, just everything's, yeah. And then we haven't put any of the light rock in here. We haven't done any of that stuff, but I might just take, I'm in the white now, I might just come around here like this and suggest that there is some, not outlining the whole thing, but just put a few little light, as long as we're doing it, let's just put a few little light colors in here like that, maybe back in here like this, going this way, and maybe this way, and we could even have something just coming up the rock like this. You don't have to have it all, just lift it up and do that. Might be pretty.
Becca Boo would like to know, would you recommend green to show algae and wetness on the rocks too?
Yeah, green and algae, that'd be pretty too. You know, again,
You've
it's
done
your
that
color
a couple of
palette.
your
Sure,
paintings.
you absolutely could. That's a good question, Rebecca. That's a really good question. You certainly could do that. Kind of a green algae kind of stuff. We're going to do a little more of a turquoise blue now. Tiny bit of yellow and white and phthalo blue, right? And I want to come in here like that, seeing that just in the turquoise blue, right in here for a little bit of color surprise near my orange, like that. Maybe coming down here, a little bit more blue in that, and come down this way, and this front of this rock, maybe down this way, okay? So see how we're putting in a little bit, few more colors, you know, which it can be very pretty. But back in here, I think we needed some. Let's take a little ultramarine blue now, and get something a little darker in the water right back in here. And the same thing here, I want something a little ultramarine blue. I want something a little bit darker where the our highlights are. Let's see, a little bit darker right in here. I'll have to come back with some light rocks. And then back on this side here, I'm going to say that the blue, the dark blue in the water is what is sort of the shadow color for our rocks in here. See, like, you gotta see, I'm kind of looking at my painting here. Okay? So you see where I'm doing that. So, I mean, this is taking a little bit, you know, it's just probably about a painting. It's going to take about an hour and a half to finish. But I think it's worth doing, and I think that you can see where it's layering. This is the thing. It's getting prettier and prettier, and you just layer. And again, this is for somebody that paints very realistically, this just makes them crazy. It's a hard picture to do. But for instance, this picture right here, which is, let's see, here's this one that this is going to be the release for our members this week, all right?
Oh, yeah, some people are working on that.
That's a John's, working on editing that. That's for our weekly video lesson library. Members have over 300 paintings to pick from, and every week they get a new one. Because not everybody wants to paint, face it, rivers and barns and old mills. Some people just want to paint something else. So we do 4 a week, 4 a month, 4 to 5 a month, and some are 1 cookie, some are 2 cookie. We challenge you. But anyway, you can see from some of this, see the way these trees are done is very impressionistic, but not everything is impressionistic. So when you learn these techniques, you can do a kind of a combination of that. Again, our wave and water class last fall had this painting of an old mill with a waterfall. And again, for sure, the way these trees are painted is very impressionistic. Thomas Kincaid, by the way, did a lot of impressionistic brushstrokes on his paintings, but he did a lot of realism too. So you can combine the skills that it takes to do, say, a painting like this with a painting the skills it takes to do this kind of painting, you can combine them, and then you end up with your own handwriting. And basically what I would tell you is you end up with your own handwriting. No two artists are going to have the same brush strokes any more than you have the same kind of handwriting. Let's take a little phthalo blue now and make some little darker blue here like that. See how that's a little bit darker? You can come down in here like this, a little bit darker in here, getting a little more contrast. I want some dark shadows under here coming off. I want to paint down here like this, and come down here to the bottom. A little bit darker here, something a little bit darker under here, like that. So we're starting to say that now we're going to put a little more color, a little bit lighter blue here. Again, everything is overlapping. You touch the brush strokes and you overlap. Okay, that's what you want to do. See how we're doing that? Now, while that's drying, though, I still need some blue, so I'm thinking about it. See, I'm looking at that. I've got a big piece of peach here that doesn't have any blue in it, so I need to break that up, maybe with a little more white. Here, let's just break that up back in here like this. Just break up the water a bit, like this. And there's something a little bit more in the kind of the blues. You see how we're just keep making blue colors like this, and just break this up like that. It's a little, I thought it was a little too turquoise for right there, but I want enough light around this rock where it shows up. And even up here, let's take a little bit of more white, pinch it, and come way back up here and just do some lighter ones back up in here. This, just to kind of break this up a little bit. Okay, and then how about something light here like that?
Ginger, Anne Maria is asking, could you have painted the water and then added the rocks?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it really doesn't matter too much
No,
on
it
this because
doesn't
you're
matter.
layering back and forth.
Because the rocks were, could have painted the rocks. Yeah, I was just doing this. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I'm trying to not keep using the hairdryer for you guys, right? So I'm letting that dry and then I do this. And so I've been going back and forth, but you absolutely could do that. So with acrylics, you can just literally paint one section, another section, and just keep coming down. Absolutely you can, which is kind of cool when you think about it. All right, so let's get a little bit of, let's see, are we out of white here? We need a new place for new white. Doesn't have blue in it. Let's try that.
Just asked, if I have varnished a painting and decided I needed a small detail, can I fix it with it varnished?
It depends on the varnish. Now, here's the deal. If you're using, and I have a whole video on varnish, if you're using gloss, medium, and varnish, where it says gloss, medium, and varnish, you can varnish and paint and varnish and paint, varnish and paint. You can even add this to the paint. So yeah, you can just go right over. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Now that they also make something that's just a varnish. It's a liquid.
We lost our feed. Man, hour 21.
Okay.
Gonna stop it. Bring it back up. Give it a second to feed it back up. Coming back. Okay, we're back up. Go ahead.
Okay, hi you guys. So we're back.
Almost made it, man.
So almost made it without losing the feed. Well, we're doing the best we can here. This is the advantage of live, but I love the fact that so many of you have joined us. We really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, we certainly hope you do so. We mean to ask you that at the beginning, but we mean to. But we figure if you like us, and put us in your playlists. If you put a bunch of our videos in your playlist, even if you never watch them again, YouTube thinks you love us. They're going, oh, it's in a playlist, it must be good. So just if you want to help us out, I know not everybody can do a monetary donation, but you can sure create a playlist and just keep our videos in your playlist. That's really nice. We appreciate it. That's a nice thing you can do for us. If you just wanted to, and your other fan, artists and YouTube people that you like, just create some playlists. And also, sometimes I like to watch, I'm a real YouTube fan. I watch all kinds of things on YouTube. And I have a private playlist that I have for just, because I want to be able to find that stuff again, or maybe that person again that talked about it. I was watching a really neat video just the other day by a gal on how to put eye makeup on if your eyes are starting to droop and you're over 40 or something. And I'm going, okay, so what are you supposed to do? It was interesting, I was doing a lot of it, but you can always learn new things from people. Okay.
Hey, can we go back to Jason's question, because we totally lost him?
Yeah, what's Jason's question?
That was the one I just varnished and I want to touch it up.
Yeah, we said you can do it, sure.
Well, you'll grab the varnish again, bring it back out,
Yeah,
do the whole routine.
Yeah, so Jason, here's the deal. If you're using gloss medium and varnish, you can just varnish the painting, but please watch the video on how to varnish it. Do not do this and do this. This is not how you varnish. You have to varnish exactly how you did the brush strokes with the same size brush. So if you're doing a painting like this, when you do the varnish, all the little brush strokes are going to be doing this, not this. Now, if you're using a spray varnish, then of course you're doing this and this, but not with a varnish like this, and they don't tell you on the directions.
You need to watch your video on varnishing.
Watch my video on varnishing. That's very helpful. And again, you don't use Minwax. I want to just say that again. You don't use Minwax. Though I was talking to my daughter Cinnamon today, and I would say, well, why would anybody think they could use Minwax? And she was saying that this came from, this is how these rumors get started. All right, do you see this, how we're coming back with a little peach and breaking some of this up now? Somebody says, how do you do that? But we're just coming back into our water and breaking some of this up like that. Isn't that interesting? How the Minwax myth, got started was people that were doing scrapbooking, doing beautiful scrapbooking and stuff, their pages were sticking together, and the Minwax was what you put on paper to keep it from sticking. And then people thought they should just use it on paintings too, I guess. But
paper and acrylic are the same thing somehow in their mind.
Well, maybe they had some acrylic paint on the paper. Now, if you have two acrylic paintings, like this was last night's painting, and you put them face down, they will become one picture eventually. Over time, like how many monkeys it take to make an encyclopedia, at some point you will never get these apart. The acrylics will do this. So, what would you have to do if you have to think about that when you're doing acrylic paint will stick to each other. So even when you're making an art journal, you want to make sure that you don't have one piece of, you want a piece of paper in between it, You can't just close it and expect that. So here's a little bit of our peach color. And I want to put a little bit of our peach color up on our rocks. You see how we're painting this? And which is kind of cool. We're doing that, and I see how in this picture I've got a little bit darker. So let's go back and make this a little darker here, like that. Coming under here like this, maybe a little bit darker here, some blue.
How does Ginger make the decision as to where to add a new brush stroke?
How do I make the decision? Well, I'm looking at this painting, and I'm just trying to copy it. So, and that's what you're doing. So I see some dark here, so I'm adding it, okay? And so I know that there's going to be a shadow under this rock, so it's got to be darker. And the same thing here. I want a little bit of a purple shadow under this rock right here, like right in here. Like, see, there's some purple in here. I want a little bit of a purple shadow going this way, down into our water, maybe with a little bit of white with it. Some purple going kind of that way.
Kimberly would like to know, is that varnish that you showed okay for wooden signs outdoors that apparently been painted with acrylic? Is my guess.
Yeah, here's the deal. For instance, I used to do a lot of, I was a sign painter for a while. Did you know that?
I did.
Back when I was in my 20s, I was a sign painter, but dyslexic sign painters don't stay in business long. They'd say things that we really love you, but if you just spelled the words right, we'd be so much happier with the sign. And of course, they'd be misspelled and I wouldn't even know it. This is before computers and spell check, And so, it was sad because sign painters make the bucks, you guys. Someone will, might be willing to spend $300 on a painting, and at the same size, they'll spend $3,000 on the sign, and that was back in, the 70s, and because they could write the sign off. And so it was a great business if you could do it. And I was good at the letters, I was good at everything. I just wasn't very good at the, at the spelling part. And I know that sounds silly, but it was true. But yes, you can use, and this stuff's been around for a long time, and you absolutely can use this as a varnish over a wooden sign. It's also like if you're painting kids' furniture, for instance, if you're painting kids' furniture, I would do about, you could recoat this after an hour, but for sure after 24. And I'd do 3 or 4 coats on a wood table, and then I'd be tempted to get like a varathane and put over that. See what this does, what this kind of varnish does, which is different than oil painting varnish, what this varnish does is it molecularly binds to the paint and it becomes a protective surface like a glass shield. And the next coat does that too, and the next coat. So I mean, you've really protected this, okay? And then, you could still do a shellac over that if you wanted to, like a something. But it's good because you absolutely can. And they've got a surface now. You can buy it at Home Depot. The stuff you can paint on glass. It's like a clear substance. You either spray or put it on glass that binds to the glass. Then your acrylic paint binds to that, and then you can use this stuff over that, and you can paint on a glass table. Ah, how cool is that?
That's so cool.
I think it's cool. I mean, that's just, okay, so we're still going here. So, yeah, these are all really good questions because people want to know that. Years ago, back when Liquitex first came out, this was way before Cinema was born, and her dad and I were living in this condo in Aspen, and we really we were skiers. We lived on a very limited income. We rented out the upstairs so we'd have some money, and so I had this really hideous bathroom. It just was awful, and I don't know if I'd hate it so much then now, but the bathtub and everything was this kind of a peach brown color, and the sink and the toilet was just this ugly. And trust me, those colors went in. I don't know what was thinking when they made that, but it was in there, and I couldn't stand it. So what I did was I got some of this, a gloss medium and varnish, which was cheap, even then, and I got some colored tissue paper, and I tore the tissue paper into, it was like a package, like you can still get that today, like 5 different colors of blues, like all the colors of blue in this palette, just what you see here. It's about what I had. And I took big brush, like this, and I would put some varnish down, and then I would put the tissue paper down, and I'd go over it with varnish, and then I kind of overlay another piece, and just did this collage all over the walls like wallpaper. I did the whole thing for like $5, okay? And then I did a Kleenex box to match, and some toothbrush holders, and a wastebasket, and everything matched. And it was on there forever. I mean, the shower, nothing disturbed it. I mean, it was there. It was just great. I don't know. I just, and then the other thing I did with that was I saw this back then. Better Homes and Gardens had this. They come out with a magazine once a year, 100 projects for under $100. You guys remember that? Okay. See, now we're getting the lighter blues in here. Isn't that pretty when we start adding the colors? Starting to get pretty, you guys. And so I got this Chinese newspaper from Chinatown. My mother lived in Seattle, and she had to go down. I lived in Aspen. She did this for me. It was really nice. She went to Chinatown, and she got me this Chinese newspaper, and I cut all the photographs out, so all I had was the Chinese writing, and I cut that in strips. And in my bedroom, I did this Chinese bedroom, and I did that. I used this varnish and Liquitex medium and varnish and glued that all over the closet doors, these hideous bifold, ugly, cheap closet doors. Looked great. Then I had kind of a Chinese orange wall by a neat bedspread. And I had this, I went to town with all this stuff. Let's see, what else did they have? Oh yeah, they had a wall you could do where you could paint it one color, and then you took and you had all these little carpet nails that went along the bottom and a strip and on the top, and then you took twine, like really cheap twine, boxing twine, and you roped it up and down like this, and it made this really great looking wall. Yeah, anyway, yeah, you can, that stuff is like great, and I think Golden makes a GAC. They call it GAC, and they have GAC 100 and 900, and you have to go to their website to see what all that stuff does. But have you ever seen that someone will take that, they'll have a ribbon, and it's just sticking up like it's a bow and everything, but it's just almost like a sculpture? They did that over a balloon and wire, chicken wire, and they dipped it in one of those GACs, so the really heavy one, and it like petrified it. I think there is probably more stuff at the art store that you can do projects with than you can imagine. See, here we go. Do you see we're almost done with that now? It looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Well, no, get it back out so I can see it all.
Yeah, so I think it's coming along here. We're just doing a few little outlines, and if you want, someone asked about the green. Let's do a little bit of that green. We'd put a little bit of orange in the green to kind of make it more mossy colored. But if you wanted to say that there was a little bit of green, let's see, let's use a little yellow oxide for that. Okay, pinch the brush, and if you wanted to say there was a little green moss coming on here like this, you certainly could just sort of dry brush it on here a little bit somewhere. You know, maybe you could put it on. I mean, people ask about that stuff. Sure, you definitely could just put a little color on there if you want it. This is almost a kind of a monochromatic painting, but you certainly could add some color if you wanted to too. I wouldn't overdo it. So you see that you can see from this how we're getting this effect. And again, I want to lighten up something right like this, which is not lightening up anything. Let's try more white. Then pinch the brush. Let's just tap this up here like this. I want this a little bit lighter right here. If that's lighter there, then I want it a little bit bluer right next to this. Let's see, probably more of the darker blue, maybe with a little purple in it here. Right next to that. Wherever there's a light, there's a dark. So if you have some dark next to your where your highlight is, then the hill shows up. Does that make sense? So like for instance here, if you put a little blue right here, and let's do a little lighter blue. If you put a little lighter blue right next to this rock right here, then what you do for that rock to show up then is you'd come back in here with it's a little lighter right on here on the rock, see? Like that. So then the rock shows up. So these are all little tricks to get your stuff so you can see it. And see, I think I need to put more yellow out. I'm almost done. So any other nifty questions we can answer today when we're painting this?
I don't have any.
You don't have any? Okay. Well,
You
again.
got the dice hand? Let's at least throw in one question tonight.
Well, we could do some dice real quick.
Just throw in one. Let's have at least one question.
We could. And then if we had any dice, we would be the
Anne-Marie,
first.
thank you very much for the donation.
Oh, Amber, yeah, thank you, Anne-Marie. We appreciate it very much. And thank you very much. And if I had any dice, I'd be the first one to roll it for you, John. But when you were cleaning up last night, did you put the dice back?
I gotta think if Sammy and Chester are goofing off at night.
Just because, you cleaned up last night, I see no dice. I could give you a number. Would that be all right?
I'm guessing a number between 1 and 6. What are you guessing?
I'm guessing 5.
Oh, I was going to say 5.
Were you? I'm guessing 5. All right, I'm guessing 5.
Nice roll of dice. That's a how.
Okay, so we're going to lighten this up right here. Let this rock, see? And the same thing here. I want this rock
that's a silly question.
I want this rock right here lightened up right here a little bit. Maybe a little bit darker. Let's just put a little purple and orange, make a nice, rich, dark, reddish brown color too. It doesn't all have to be, light peach. But you can add a little bit of color to some of this. Come on.
All right, here's one for you.
Okay, we're all ears here.
What name is given to artists authorized to make copies of famous paintings? A copyist, a copiers, a forgers.
Authorized, you said.
Authorized. What name is given to artists authorized to make copies of famous paintings? A copyist, a copiers, a forgers.
Now, something you guys may not know when you're wondering about that, I'm going to say that about it, is that one of the ways that Picasso, who was considered one of the greatest artists of all time, of his time, Renoir, Monet, Van Gogh, these guys all went to museums and copied other artists. Did you know that? Velázquez, who was one of the most famous artists, Spanish artist from the 1500s, we've got a painting, a white horse of his that we have on our website as a lesson. Velázquez was, that was like the simplest painting of his I could find because his stuff was so detailed it was just scary. And they all learned from the masters. They all copied that artwork. And some of them, I think it was Monet, got extra money doing that for somebody, for a publisher. He would go down, when he was trying to establish his own career. So you put a little extra rock in there like that, okay?
Well, the majority of the people, basically everybody, is saying copyists.
I think that's a pretty easy question. You got another 5? Got something better than that?
No, the other ones were even easier than that one.
All right, how about let's just try a 3. We haven't done a 3 in a while. We've never seen good roll. Do we have loaded dice or something? I've never seen a 3.
Yeah, we have loaded dice. It always gives us the 2 or the other one. So if you got copyists, give yourself 1,000 points, well on your way to 10 million. Get there before the end of the year to win a grand prize. We don't know what the grand prize is. This is a win.
A win, huh?
These are names that are really... Okay, when did Yves Klein obtain a copyright for the composition of his famous blue from the French Intellectual Property Institute? Whoa.
I don't even understand the question. That's just too crazy. I'm going to do some light here on the horizon, like this.
Yves Klein obtained a copyright for one of his compositions. We want to know what year. It's real simple. It's a simple question.
Well, what did he paint?
It was his famous blue from the French Intellectual Property Institute.
His famous blue what?
For the composition of his famous blue from the French Intellectual Property. What are you not understanding when I'm reading this to you?
I don't understand. What did he paint? It's like
apparently
who's on first? Who?
Okay, do you know who Yves Klein is?
No.
Well, let's start with that.
I have no clue who this man was.
Well, I'm going to give you the years, and you're going to have to make a guess, because these people are going to come up with it.
Okay. All right.
1854,
Yeah.
1905, or 1960.
Well, I've never heard of him. I give
When
up.
did Yves Klein obtain a copyright for the composition of his famous blue from the French Intellectual Property Institute? I mean, this is,
This is hard
I'm
stuff,
going to have to Google this guy. I got to see who he is.
I just don't know, man. It's just it's a mystery, man. It's a mystery.
Well,
Who
we
is this man?
we have a 1905, 1960, 1905, 1804, 1960. Sue Clark's going with a 1905. Kathleen, 1960. Gail, 60. Susan, 60. 1905, I guess. Well, let's
Sue
see.
Clark knows a lot of stuff. She gets a lot of right
We're going to
answers.
copy off of her paper?
I'm copying off of Sue's. I'm going with whatever Sue Clark said, man. She's smart, man. I'm going for her. She knows stuff.
All right.
That's my answer. If she's wrong, she and I are going to be wrong together.
Yves Klein.
Wow.
Famous blue. I have no idea.
Okay, it's just we're playing with the lights here, you guys. You see that? Playing with the lights.
Apparently he made a blue color and got it.
He actually invented blue paint?
He invented a blue.
A blue paint. Well, remember we talked about that.
It's pronounced if.
We talked about that. Remember, that's
you.
a good question for what we were talking about tonight, was that people, Mummy Brown, these different paints that people came up with, they made some serious dough doing that. Like that serious dough, no pun intended.
So that's cute. A monochrome blue. All right.
Okay.
He was 1960. For those of you that guessed 1960, which Sue did, so I assume that's what you're going with.
I'm going with Sue, but I'm going on her coattails because I'm clueless. I just didn't know that he made some sort of paint.
Well, now, if I told you that he was born between 1928 and 1962, would that have helped?
Well, it still wouldn't help me know who he was.
It doesn't matter because your choices was 1854 or 1905. He couldn't have been either one of those, could he?
No, but I'm just saying. I don't know who the man was.
Gail's already at 12,000 points. Congratulations, Gail. I think you might be in the winning.
Wow, that's really good. So you can see how we just keep adding a few little more colors here and there. You can kind of see from the example of the picture. I think I want to bring some blue off of here like that. Up here, the little bit of the darker color.
How you can copyright a color.
Well, it's interesting. It just, what you copyright. I'll tell you what's happened to my daughter Cinnamon, which is just awful, right? Some Yahoo out there on Amazon has literally stolen her artwork and is selling it on Amazon.
On shower curtains.
On shower curtains and all kinds of stuff. And has
stuff.
lied to Amazon and said that's his artwork. And we know it's not. You guys all watched her create it. And then her troops rallied and said this is all wrong. And then Amazon wouldn't let anybody comment anymore. And they basically told her to pound sand, really. Sit and spin, I think, was the term. But now attorneys are going to get involved. I mean, this is just terrible. They actually they actually called themselves the Art Sherpa too, and that's a copyrighted name too. I mean, I don't know what people are thinking. Why would they do that? This was not overseas either. This was some guy that did it from one of our states. I'm not going to say any more because I don't know much more about it. But conversely, I've got a guy on Amazon that sells my artwork on tile. His name's Dave, and he's been around for years, and I just got a check from him today, licensing on some of my artwork that he sells. So there's legitimate art licensing, and if someone wants to do any of my artwork in licensing, they just have to contact us. I'm happy to license it out for a small fee, either outright or for percentage of sales, and I'm happy to do that. That's the way to do. That's the correct way to do something, is to pay the artist and license it out. Did you know, for instance, like if you go to Victoria's Secrets, of those of you who are not in the States, that's a lingerie, very famous lingerie store here in America, and it's in all the malls. And they have every Christmas they sell kind of neat CDs, and it's music that they've compiled and put together, because it's against the law in the United States to just play any old music in your store. You have to have a license for it. And my ex-husband used to call it underwear music, So he bought some of that underwear music. Of course, it wasn't really underwear music, but you know about what we call elevator music or underwear music. That's all licensed music that people have permission to use. And you can't just, put up any old music on Amazon, on YouTube either, and put it with your video. It's got to be your original piece, or you've got to have the rights to it. And YouTube has music we can use or we can pay for. And sometimes there are all kinds of musicians on YouTube that are putting up their own original stuff. But you're not allowed to just willy-nilly copy stuff like that, and it's called copyright for a reason, you guys. And this is our painting. I think I did pretty well with that. I'm kind of happy with it. I hope you guys are too.
A question came up. Did you have any mixing white in this at all?
I didn't.
I didn't think so.
I didn't. But if I was going to put any, where I would put any, I'll just say, if I was going to put any mixing white, and do we have any I could find? I have some right here. I'm going to show you where I'd put it, okay? Oh, that's yellow, so that wouldn't be it. So where would I put the mixing white? If I own mixing white, where would I put it? I know it's in a Liquitex tube. Mixing white is always Liquitex. It's in a small Liquitex tube. Though we have, zinc white's the same thing. Let's get some of that. All right, I'm going to show you where I'd put it, because sometimes I like it in the background, so I'm going to just put a little out like that. Here it is. This is golden zinc white. Okay.
We've had it for years.
Yeah. Rinse the brush. I think I'll start with a brand new clean brush that has no paint. Yeah, let's dirty up another
brush.
Yeah, brand new clean brush. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of this back here on the horizon line like this, and I'll just put it in here like this and sort of mute that out like this. There we go, just sort of mute that out a bit. Here you go, a little bit maybe, just in the back here.
Just pushes it back.
Just sort of push everything back and just maybe back up in here. This is, I was going to put it somewhere. This is where it would go. And maybe a few little lighter highlights up in here like this around our... Didn't I say we had some water splashing up here like that?
Well, you do now.
Yeah, that's right. We were going to do that. It's coming back to me now. Something a little... Yeah, it's maybe splashing. And then, let's see, where's titanium? That's the mixing. Mixing is translucent. Here's titanium. If I wanted to just do a little bit of light around one of these rocks like this, and here's a little bit more. There's the titanium going up like that, see? So you see how the difference between mixing white and titanium? The same thing, just could put a little bit like this. There's not a lot of white in here. It's all done with the peach, okay? The light around the rocks is all done with the peach. See that? And that's the secret with that. That's how this is working. It's all done with the peach. All right, I think we're gonna. That's where I'd put the mixing white. Maybe with a little of this purple mixing white coming up here like that. So you can layer this sky. It's not a terrible thing to layer the sky even one more time. Just saying. You can just kind of. There's only so much time we have to do these paintings, but you can see where you could come back and work that over a little bit, and even even still, where we have remember we had a little bit of yellow there, and even still we could put a little bit of yellow in the water here like that too, and you can play with that too. So I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do after you've finished the painting. Let it dry a little bit. Maybe I want a little bit of lighter, kind of like a yellow orange stuffs on here like that. I want to thank my friend Dave, and he has artwork on tile. He's been licensing my artwork on, for murals in showers and in kitchens and stuff like that for like 10 years. And besides just licensing is a neat deal, but and it's kind of nice because long after the original is gone, you still got.
It's like a book that keeps on giving.
It's like a book that keeps on giving. Absolutely, just one of the nice bennies. Okay, that's a benny, but a lot of people that's a whole course licensing. I used to teach a whole course on art licensing, like that. That was a whole new thing. All right, I'm going to come around here like that. There, that's pretty around this, and let's just throw a couple in here like that, and we'll call it done, you guys.
We'll call it done.
We'll call it done.
That's an interesting name for the painting, but done it is.
No, actually, the title of this painting was what? So you want to go over the 5 things. We said in the beginning there were 5 things you would want to know to paint acrylics like an impressionist. And this is a sunset. And again, let's go over those 5 things so we're talking about it. All your brush strokes are kind of going short, little overlapping brush strokes. You're going to use more paint than you would normally do, okay? You're not going to outline. You're not going to do a lot of outlining, though some impressionists like Van Gogh, we realized, did a lot of outlining, but mostly, and impressionists cover a wide variety of type of painting. It originally was just the idea that the guys were taking their stuff outside and seeing colors in a new way because paint was in tubes. And so there's a lot of room for what you might call an impressionist artwork, as somebody might call impressionism. Lots of room for what that could be. This is, so again, it's an interpretation, but it certainly is not like, for instance, this painting right here, which is we're backed out enough to see that, John, are we? That this painting, this painting of Venice is not done in any kind of impressionistic style, okay? But it's a different style of painting. And the thing is, the fun thing about finding stuff like this is you find your groove. You find the things that you're comfortable painting with, but try it. It could be you, and you might not like it. For instance, pointillism is where they do the same thing with little tiny dots, and I promise you, I never want to do that. I looked at that and going, "You're kidding me? That's a SOT folder if I ever saw one." I don't want to do that. But again, this is styles of painting. Just like there's dialects in language, there's different styles of painting. We're talking about using warm and cool colors for shadows. Okay, which was sort of a new thing that they brought forth. And the brushstrokes imply detail. The way the brushstrokes are imply the detail. And also, you can combine, the last thing is you can take impressionistic painting and you can combine this style with other paintings and create, your own type of artwork. So it's a good thing to know how to do that. So I hope this was helpful, you guys. Hope you had fun learning this. And we will be back next week with more exciting things. And we appreciate comments, likes, putting the stuff in playlists, subscribing. We all appreciate that. And hope you guys have a fabulous week.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This is Impressionist 101. And let's put up the thumb for the night.
Thank you.
Good night, Ginger.
Good night, John. Good night, Sammy. Bye. Subscribe, everybody.